What is good, NIO family? It's Rey-Jay back with another video, and in this one I'm going to be talking about the one and only NIO stock, what you should be looking after for the future. I'm also going to break down why NIO is getting tighter as it does continue to climb, but this is starting to look like a rising wedge on the hourly charts, and even though there could be more momentum and more potential for us to push up, I would be very careful. I'm also going to break down what the charts are telling us for the longer periods of time, why we are getting some hints of a reversal in the markets over the next few weeks. I do believe that's going to happen. I do believe we're near the top. And I do believe that, but I'm not saying that we're at the top yet. We're just nearing it, in my opinion. I want to break down exactly why. I'm going to break down CPI, some indications from the Fed, some news from NIO, and what I do anticipate to happen to NIO over the next couple of weeks. Now, before I break anything down, before I get into any more details about this, I do have to mention a couple of things before starting. Firstly, I'm not a financial planner, taking none of this as financial advice whatsoever. And also, if you guys can, please smash the like button if you want to see more videos like this. It not only benefits me, it benefits the entire community as a whole. And the last things, if you guys can, please check out the Webull link down below and in the description. If you sign up for Webull, the link down below, and deposit any amount of money into the account, you're guaranteed up to 12 free stocks, each worth up to $2,000. And the best part is any could be a free NIO share, a free Tesla share, or a mix of all of them. It's a limited time offer. The offer ends in just 4 days. Check it out before they run out. But that's out of the way. Let's get on with the video. NIO is up 2.61% for the day. I predicted, and I mentioned to everyone, I didn't know for sure because it depended on the CPI numbers, but I thought that we could actually get like a gap up and then maybe push up a bit on NIO in the market, then maybe start to bleed as time went on, but it wouldn't be that bad. Instead, NIO pushed down just like Tesla, got a nice bounce, and then we got a nice push to the upside, closing up over 2%, outperforming the market. That's why NIO's price price ratio is starting to go up. NIO is showing some strength. Now, why did the market bounce? Well, looking at some inflationary data, CPI was actually up about 6.5% year over year, which was at expectations, with core at 5.7%. So a bit of an improvement in a way where it is actually coming down. The numbers are coming down, and initial jobless claims, however, were actually low. This tells me two things. Yes, inflation's coming down, it's on a downtrend. However, the jobs market is still not as weak as we want it to be. So all of this data tells me that yes, it's good. We're seeing a downtrend in inflation, but the bad news is it's still super high, and we can't be used to these numbers. We can't normalize these numbers. We're still almost at 7% inflation. We're still almost at 6% core. That's still nowhere near the Fed's target of 2%. Okay? That's the first thing to remember. The second thing is the Fed wants more pain in the job sector. The Fed wants more pain in the markets. And I believe the Fed is incentivized to be more hawkish, and the Fed's going to make something clear. This is the same thing that the Fed officials, if you listen to them, they've been saying this for the past week. Excuse me. And that is, there is no plan for a pivot this year. Does that mean they'll never pivot this year? No. But as of right now, there's no plan for them to pivot. They don't see themselves pivoting this year. If anything, they are going to raise rates for another couple of months before they pause and then they pivot later. But we don't know if they're going to pivot this year. So we can't pump off that news. News like this is going to confirm that the Fed is going to be strict. It's likely going to have a negative effect on the markets by the time it gets to February 1st or FOMC. As far as inflationary data goes, for December, month over month, we saw some things come down, such as the energy sector. We saw food go up, but shelter came up pretty drastically compared to other months. So that's important to note. Now, looking at NIO, we have a higher max pain for next week. Overall max pain for the week is $11. And the put to call ratio has been low for this stock for almost every single week of the year because a lot of people have calls on NIO. They're basically buying more and more and more, but you have to be very careful with that. Now, seeing NIO starting to bounce, that's very, very nice to see. On SPY, we have a 1.96 put to call ratio for tomorrow, which means that we might see this thing push up just a little bit more, but I'd be very, very cautious. I'm going to show you exactly why. And finally, just remember, regardless of what happens, Regardless of whether or not NIO pushes up or comes down temporarily, here's my message to you. NIO has great cars, strong fundamentals. It's still an incredible company. They have an amazing EC7, very elegant, and I'm still very bullish long term. But for the short term, NIO does have a setup that's resembling a rising wedge. And these tend to not be the most bullish setups. It might see a big reversal. I also want to note that on SPY, on the daily, we have a hidden bearish divergence forming on the RSI. What does this mean? This means that this is going to be a pretty weird analogy, but let's just say you had a rocket. And for the rocket to fly 408 feet, you needed a full tank. Well, now the rocket needs a full tank, more than a full tank, to get to about 396. This is kind of like what the RSI is telling us. It's harder to get up there. We have this divergence that's forming. This could be a signal for a potential reversal. And we may have seen the top today, maybe, maybe not. And I predict in the market, okay? My prediction is the top for SPY is going to be between 398 and 402. Just like I said yesterday, we may have already seen it, maybe not, but we'll just have to wait and see how that goes. But I do believe we're getting close to the top after the divergence, and also because of this, we have a potential head and shoulders forming. We have the head potentially, the left shoulder, the right shoulder right here. They're all suggesting that we are going to likely see some downside soon. Maybe the market holds up for another week, maybe, but eventually I expect it to start slowing down. And as we approach the month of February, I think it's going to be a very bearish month. That's just my opinion once this head and shoulders like formation does end up playing out. And on the NASDAQ, it's even it's not even as good for people out there. Because yeah, you could look at the daily and see that. I think if you look at the hourly, we have another one. Um, Let me pull up my drawings right here. So what you'll notice is we have a potential head and shoulders forming on the NASDAQ. We have the left shoulder, the head, right shoulder is still a little bit behind, which is why I think the NASDAQ might push up a little bit. And the amount it needs to push up is only like, it's very small, only like 1 or 2% to the upside. So we might have a little bit of upside maybe tomorrow. Maybe we trade sideways to start off next week and then we start descending. I believe that's very likely to happen. This is going to be led by Apple, by Microsoft, by Amazon, by all these other companies. All right. Some big banks too. But I do see this playing out, and I do see the market slowing down as we approach the end of January. FOMC is likely going to cause the bigger drop, in my opinion. I want to inform you guys about this in advance. That way, you're not like shell shocked or like completely caught off guard if something happens. On the VIX, I talked to everyone about this gap right here. I do apologize about the highlights you guys are seeing. We basically filled the gap on the VIX, and to me, it's looking like I don't think this is actually showing me the gap. There's a gap that needs to get filled, basically. We filled the gap and we're very close. See this gap right here? We filled it. We're very close to an area we've bounced pretty hard off of. We're actually only at 18 on the VIX. Dang, we're actually very low on the VIX. This thing could bounce, get a big reaction very soon. It makes me very cautious in this market. So all of this is telling me that, look, when you have stocks like Tesla, which are also, trying to push up, could they push up more? Yes, definitely. But eventually, a big reversal is going to come, in my opinion. Maybe within a week, maybe in 1 week to 2 weeks, a huge reversal is going to start dragging us down. On NIO, our target appears to be $12. We're fighting for 12. And also, we have a very critical level around 12. You can see right here. Right here, there's actually a lot of space for us to chop between 13.18 and 12. Could we get to this chop zone? Maybe. I'd still be very careful though, because like I said, I mean, the reversal could come relatively soon, within a week, and NIO happens to be respecting a rising wedge. And these tend to not be the best formations for anyone out there. If we break out of this, be very careful, right? Might not be the best things for the bulls. So, excuse me, on NIO, maybe it pushes up like this tomorrow. We hit 12, we come right back down. Maybe by next week, remember the market's going to be closed on Monday because of MLK Day, Martin Luther King Day. So by Tuesday, maybe we continue pushing a little bit. And then we eventually start to break to the downside. Maybe NASDAQ gets ready to reverse with SPY 2 sometime next week. And then we start to kind of cool off a little bit. I think the bleeding will be kind of slow in the beginning, but then once we get to FOMC, man, it could get pretty bad. So be very careful, guys. All right, that's what I have for this video. For tomorrow, there's not a guarantee that we're going to reverse yet. Remember, my target on SPY is 398 to 402. We could push up a little bit more, so NIO could get to 12, but I'd be very careful when playing this thing. Okay, be very, very cautious. I think NIO might push up to 12, maybe try to hold it, but after that, things could go south pretty fast. Thank you for listening. That's what I have for this video. Please remain calm, cool, and collected, and I'll see you guys in the next one. NIO to the moon because the long-term future is still incredibly bright, and peace out.